Okay, this week for my field experience, I do want to apologize. I've had a beanie all day. My hair's a little messed up. But this week for my field experience, my mentors were. Starting to see myself spending a little bit more time with Mr. Weller. Not switching as much. I think me and my peers are kind of starting to find the mentors that fit us best. I still do like to switch around a little bit, mainly because uh, I've noticed that all three mentors that I've been able to observe, they all have different methods, like different things that they do. Um, but this week for my online course, we were asked to interview our mentors. So I actually got to interview Coach Troy and Mr. Weller, which was that was awesome because being able to interview both guys and just kind of get their perspective on the same exact questions, it was good. It was good to see like how they went about things, and our interviews were mainly based off of when our mentors felt it was best to use a formative and summative assessment. And it was interesting. I did notice that both mentors just weren't too happy with the terms. um I'm not sure why. uh I know Mr. Weller did explain that those two terms really aren't used too often in the classroom and stuff like that, or throughout his planning and stuff. But Mr. Weller's perspective was a little bit different. He was kind of along the lines of he wants to make sure that every student is getting reassurance on everything. Like, he doesn't even like to reteach the stuff. He really does enjoy walking around the classroom and working with each student individually, making sure that every single student is on track. And I really like that. And I actually had some time Thursday of this week to sit down with Mr. Weller and kind of pick his brain a little bit and just ask him basically every question possible. We normally I don't stay with him during his off period. I normally switch over to another mentor, which is usually when I go to Mr. Matthews. But for some reason this week, I'm not sure. I just chose to stay with Mr. Weller, and during that off period, it gave me an hour and a half to really talk to him and just figure out like all the stuff that I've had questions over. And one of my main questions for him was just kind of like, why does he walk around so much? I asked him. I was just like, I've noticed that my other mentors, they do what they have to do, and they're right back to their computer getting to work. And he explained to me that in his previous school he didn't have a desk, so he was required basically to walk around 100% of the time. And he brought that over because he's originally from Florida. He brought that over to Splendora, and within his first year he was named teacher of the year, which is, I mean, it's amazing. And I understand why he was named that. Like, I can just see how well he connects with these students. And I can't even start to explain like the amount of trust that he has from these students. Like, getting to talk to Mr. Weller this week and spending a lot of time with him was great because it kind of shows you a different side of teaching, kind of building that connection with the students. It's great. It's great to kind of get away from the academic side of things and kind of ease your mind a bit and just really understand what it takes to connect to these students. What is it going to take to get every bit out of them? Um, Especially because Mr. Matthews had explained to me that the junior class at Splendora was, they were a little hectic. He was saying like they're mean, they don't listen and stuff like that. Well, Mr. Weathers teaches U.S. history, and that's majority juniors. And that junior class, being able to see someone else describe that class and those students, and then seeing how well Mr. Weller connects with them and manages them, it's something different because he does have a different style of teaching. It is really different from what we're being taught in a way, not necessarily, but it's just like it's more of like an influential movement. Like he just influences these kids to want to be better, to push to be better. He wants them to succeed. He's willing to go above and beyond. And I mean, like just being able to see and I mean not necessarily see, but being able to talk to him and kind of get to see his view on the formative and summative assessment was great because throughout that interview it's asking questions about when you determine is the appropriate time to insert these assessments. And that's kind of whenever he opened up to me about not necessarily like wanting to quiz the students. He's not too worried about um like their work and stuff like that. He wants to make sure that they know it. He wants to make sure that every student knows it. And I mean, at the end of the day, absolutely, like the formative and summative assessments, they gather all this data for us and they tell us everything that we need to know. He takes a little different route and he likes to personally connect with the students and see what they truly know. I know there's a lot of times where students are scared and stuff, but overall it was a great experience. I mean, I can't imagine another place where I'd be getting this much of like mentorship. And interviewing Coach Troy was even better because being able to see it from his side of things was great because he has a totally different teaching style. He interviewing him, he has very high expectations. He is a guy who is going to grade every single thing. You're going to get a grade for the front of the paper, the back of the paper. Uh, if you did poorly, you're going to get that grade, which is kind of different from Mr. Weller. Mr. Weller's more, I'm not too worried about the packet that you just turned in. I just need to know that you know this information. And Coach Troy is more, you're going to show me that you know this information by completing this document and being able to turn it in with quality work on it, which is also another great way because man, it's like you can almost see like the sparks just kind of flying through these kids' minds and seeing them start to understand and connect with the information that's given to them. And one of my greatest things or one of the greatest things I could take away from this week was at the very end of our interview, my last question was, what advice would you have for a future teacher? And they both had great answers. Coach Troy was more along the lines of understand that you're gonna have to read a test to a kid. You're gonna have to read uh, paperwork to a kid. You're gonna have to read textbooks to a kid. We are their shoulder for them to lean on. And Coach Troy wanted really made sure to make a point that we can't always want to be the cool teacher. Can't always want to be this nice guy and stuff like that. Like we have to make sure that these students are understanding that they do not they don't have time to kind of sit around and just expect people to get this stuff done for them. Like we have to be able to kind of enforce that responsibility on them. And whenever I asked Mr. Weller that same question, his answer to me was his best advice was to understand that things are never going to go our way as a teacher. I mean, we could have a whole list planned out and a whole agenda and have a day planned on how things are supposed to go and it'll never work out. And his best advice for me was just not allowing things to overwhelm me as a teacher and understanding that these students are relying on me to be able to be their support. So I have to keep my composure and make sure that they know that everything's going to be all right. But overall, I couldn't ask for more from both of these mentors. They're amazing. They're great. It was another good week. And I'm excited to get back into the classroom. I really want to learn more. I'm really excited for the off period because throughout that off period, it gives me time to really break down things like things that I don't understand or things that I'm struggling with in class. Like it gives me time to speak with them and not only just be that teacher in the classroom in front of the students. It allows me to be a person and ask them for help. So overall, great week. Thank you.